Okay, so I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Imagine it is September 1987.
Right, okay.
You are sitting on a velvet couch. Maybe you have got some neon lighting going on in the room, and you turn on the TV to NBC. The biggest sitcom on the planet is about to start. But there's a problem, a massive existential, potentially show-killing problem. We are talking about Cheers.
It really was a do-or-die moment right there.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize, looking back, just how close the show came to complete collapse right at that exact moment.
See, that is exactly what I want to unpack today for our deep dive. Because for 5 seasons, Cheers was defined by exactly one thing. It wasn't the beer. It wasn't the bar itself. It was the will they, won't they tension between Sam Malone and Diane Chambers.
This is the core of the show.
Right. It was the engine. It was the DNA. And then the unthinkable happens. Shelley Long, who played Diane, quits. She is just gone.
And you really have to remember the context of the television landscape back in 1987. This wasn't just a popular character leaving a show. This was half of the core equation.
Yeah.
The entire premise of the show, which was arguably the most famous romantic arc in television history up to that point, was suddenly severed, just cut right down the middle.
Right. So the big question on everyone's mind, the critics, the fans, the network executives, was really simple. Can a show built on that very specific romantic chemistry survive when you take away one of the main ingredients? It feels like trying to keep a car running after you have completely removed the transmission.
Exactly. And the industry wisdom at the time was just, no, you do not survive this. The creators were terrified. In fact, James Burrows, one of the co-creators, famously noted later that they were in an absolute panic.
I mean, I would be too.
But interestingly, he also said that if they had kept the Sam and Diane couple together, it actually might have diminished the relevance of the bar setting. They felt the show might have stagnated if she stayed. But losing her, that was a massive gamble.
It is the classic jump the shark moment, potentially. So our mission for this deep dive is to explore exactly how they pulled this off. 'Cause spoiler alert, they didn't just survive, they thrived. We are going to look at Cheers Season 6, which I think is a masterclass in the soft reboot.
It is the gold standard for sure.
We are going to break down the introduction of Rebecca Howe, the total flip of the power dynamic, the rise of the ensemble cast, which I honestly think is the secret weapon here, and some truly bizarre behind-the-scenes drama involving a lost season finale that was so dark it was never aired.
That is a story that still completely blows my mind.
So let's set the stage here. It is September 1987. Shelley Long is out. The writers are sitting in a room staring at a blank page. What is the very first move?
Well, the first move is realizing what you absolutely cannot do. You cannot simply cast a Diane 2.0. If you bring in another blonde intellectual to spar with Sam, the audience will reject it immediately as a cheap copy.
Right. It's the Cousin Oliver syndrome from the Brady Bunch. You can't just plug a hole with a similar peg and hope nobody notices.
Precisely. So the creators, the Charles brothers and Burrows, they established a very strict set of criteria for the new female lead. They specifically looked for an unknown, or at least someone not strongly associated with a major TV role, who was not blonde, and someone who did not resemble Shelley Long in any way, shape, or form.
They wanted a hard visual reset for the viewer.
A completely clean break. And it leads us to the casting process. They saw a lot of people, but one name popped up early. Kirstie Alley.
Now, Kirstie Alley wasn't a total nobody. She was Savik in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
The Wrath of Khan, exactly. And she had done the miniseries North and South, but she wasn't a comedian. She wasn't known for being funny at all. She was known for being intense.
Which is wild, because when I think of Kirstie Alley now, I think of her as this chaotic ball of comedic energy. But back then, she was a dramatic actress.
She was. She was actually one of the first to audition. And the producers, being diligent, they continued to audition dozens of other actresses just to be sure. They wanted to turn over every single rock. But they kept coming back to Alley. They said no one improved on what she brought to the table.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me, and this is the big aha moment regarding the writing. The character of Rebecca Howe that we ended up seeing on screen, that wasn't what was on the page initially, was it?
No, not at all. And this is where the genius of the Cheers writing room really comes in. Originally, the concept for Rebecca was that of a martinet.
A martinet.
A strict disciplinarian.
Ah.
A bitch, to use the blunt term the writers used in their own interviews.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be a hard-nosed, cold, highly competent executive businesswoman. The idea was to have a boss who simply wouldn't put up with Sam's nonsense. An ice queen.
Okay, so imagine that show for a second. Sam Malone, the fun-loving bartender, versus a cold, unfeeling corporate boss who just yells at him to get back to work. That sounds...
It sounds terrible.
Yeah, it sounds exhausting.
And unfunny. And that is exactly what the writers realized. If she is just the boss, the audience is going to hate her. She becomes the villain of the piece.
So what changed their minds?
Kirstie Alley happened. When they met her, they saw real vulnerability. James Burrows mentioned that despite her look, which was very striking, very commanding, she had this underlying neurotic energy. She could play flushed, she could play panicked. So they made a massive pivot. They decided that Rebecca Howe wants to be the cold, corporate executioner, but she is actually a complete disaster.
She is the neurotic woman of the 1980s.
Exactly. She is trying to project this pristine image of 80s corporate success with the shoulder pads, the big hair, big business. But inside, she is just crumbling. She is sneaking cigarettes in the office. She is crying over men constantly. She is terrified of her corporate superiors.
Which makes her relatable to you as a viewer. If she was perfect, we would hate her. But because she is a mess, we laugh with her, or at least at her in a way that isn't mean-spirited at all.
It levels the playing field completely. And that brings us to the most important structural change of Season 6, the power flip.
Yes, let's definitely talk about Sam. Because for 5 years, Sam Malone is the king of Boston. It is his bar. He is the host. He is the guy in control. Season 6 starts, and he is a nobody.
It is a total deconstruction of your classic sitcom protagonist. Think about the setup in the premiere. Home is the sailor. At the end of Season 5, Sam sold the bar to the Lillian Corporation to sail around the world. He was going to live the dream.
We come back in Season 6, and
His boat sank.
6 months. He lasted exactly 6 months out there.
And he didn't just lose the boat. He lost all the money. He returns to Boston completely broke. He walks into Cheers, his sanctuary, and it's been completely corporatized. The employees are wearing uniforms.
Which is such a great visual gag, by the way. Seeing Carla Tortelli in a polite little uniform is just inherently wrong on every level.
It is super jarring. It signals to the audience that everything you know is wrong now. And there is a new boss, Rebecca, and there is a new bartender, Wayne.
Oh, I hate.
You are supposed to hate Wayne. He is competent, he is smug, and he has Sam's job.
So Sam actually has to beg. He literally has to beg for a job at the bar he used to own.
And this sets up one of my favorite scenes in the entire series. Sam has to fight for his job. He challenges Wayne to a cocktail-making contest. They have to make a screaming Viking.
Now, I have looked this up in every single bartending guide I can find. What exactly is a screaming Viking?
It doesn't exist. That is the whole joke. It is a completely made-up drink that only the Cheers regulars know about. It is an inside job. Wayne is freaking out behind the bar, trying to figure out if the cucumber goes in bruised or sliced.
And Sam steps up. He does this whole elaborate performance. He tosses the cucumber over his shoulder. He slams the glass down. It is pure, unadulterated confidence.
It's psychological warfare is what it is. Sam wins, not because he's a better mixologist, but because he knows the bar. He knows the people in it. Wayne quits in pure frustration, and Sam gets his spot back.
And I think this is key, he is an employee now. He is not the owner anymore.
Right. And Rebecca makes it very clear to him right away. He's on a tight leash. If he tries any of his old tricks, he is fired. This flips the romantic dynamic, too. With Diane, it was a meeting of minds. They were intellectual equals fighting it out. With Rebecca, it is a chase. Sam is the subordinate trying to seduce the boss. And the boss is, initially anyway, having absolutely none of it.
Les Charles, the writer, made a really interesting point about this shift when he was interviewed. He said that with Diane gone, Sam essentially stopped being the straight man.
Yes. In the Diane years, Sam was the grounded one, reacting to Diane's craziness or her pretension. With Rebecca being the neurotic mess, Sam gets to be the goof-off. He gets to be more carefree.
It really unleashed Ted Danson, I think. He got to be looser physically. He wasn't constantly defending his lifestyle choices. He was just trying to survive the corporate structure and have a good time.
And that looseness infected the rest of the cast. And this is the second pillar of why Season 6 works so well, the ensemble.
We talk about ensemble comedies a lot now, like The Office or Parks and Rec. But Cheers really transitioned into a true ensemble in Season 6. Before, it was really the Sam and Diane show with some funny people in the background. Now, everyone had to step up to the plate.
They absolutely had to fill the void. You have 22 minutes to fill every week. If you don't have 10 minutes of Sam and Diane fighting in the back office, who gets that screen time?
Carla Tortelli gets that screen time. And wow, does she have a big year.
A massive year. And again, reality dictated the script here. Rhea Perlman was pregnant in real life during the filming of this season.
Which is always a huge challenge for sitcoms. Do you hide it behind a laundry basket? Do you have her sit behind the bar for 20 episodes holding a giant menu?
Exactly. But Cheers leaned into it. They wrote it right into the show. Carla is pregnant with twins.
Right.
And this accelerates her relationship with Eddie LeBec,
Eddie LeBec, the retired hockey goalie turned ice show performer.
who performs dressed as a penguin.
It is so ridiculous, yet so incredibly sweet.
The episode Lil Carla, Happy at Last, is the peak of this arc. It is a two-parter dealing entirely with their wedding, and it leans heavily into Carla's intense superstitions.
Everything that can go wrong goes wrong.
It is a total comedy of errors. They see each other before the wedding, which is bad luck. Carla finds out she's having twins, which is more stress. Eddie's mother meets Carla and immediately hates her guts.
It is a disaster. Eddie literally cancels the wedding.
He runs off. But this is where the ensemble shines. It isn't just Sam saving the day like in the old seasons. It is the whole gang rallying around her. They eventually get married at a clergy house because the church canceled on them. It is chaotic, messy, and perfectly fits Carla's life.
And then just to twist the knife a little more, Carla's son, Anthony, and his wife, Annie, move in with them.
So she is pregnant with twins, she has a brand new husband, and her adult son and daughter-in-law are crashing on the couch. It really fleshed out Carla as a real person, not just the mean waitress who slings insults.
Let's pivot to the other end of the bar, Frasier and Lilith.
Ah, yes, the Crane power couple.
You know, looking back, I almost feel like Frasier and Lilith became the new Sam and Diane. Not romantically, obviously, but functionally within the script.
That is a brilliant observation, actually. Think about it. Sam and Diane provided the high-status verbal comedy, the big SAT words, the references to art and literature, the snobbery. When Diane left, all of that evaporated. Sam couldn't do that humor alone.
So they just outsourced the intelligence to the psychiatrists.
Exactly. Frasier and Lilith took over the role of the intellectual sparring partners. They fight, but they fight with an advanced vocabulary.
Season 6 is really where Lilith, played by Baby Newirth, becomes completely indispensable to the show.
She does. They start the season engaged, but is super rocky. There's the episode The Crane Mutiny. Frasier is so desperate to get out of the relationship that he just lies. He tells Lilith he has feelings for Rebecca.
Which was a total fabrication.
It was a trick played on him by Norm and Cliff, leading him to believe Rebecca was interested in him. He blows up his engagement for a phantom romance.
It is classic sitcom farce. But then we get the reconciliation, and we get bidding on the boys. This might honestly be my favorite Lilith episode of all time. There is a bachelor auction at the bar.
And Lilith buys Sam.
For $2,000.
Which in 1987 is a lot of money.
It is an absolute fortune. But she does it purely to spite Frasier because they are arguing about a prenuptial agreement. She drags Sam to this romantic inn, not to sleep with him, but just to sit there and make Frasier crazy with jealousy.
It shows that Lilith is just as petty and bizarre as anyone else in the bar. She isn't just a robot. She is a jealous, vindictive, hilarious human being.
And that is why she fits in perfectly. We also see that dynamic play out in the episode To All the Girls I've Loved Before, which gives us Frasier's bachelor party and Lilith's bachelorette party. The contrast there is just amazing ensemble work.
It really is.
We can't forget the guys at the end of the bar, though, Cliff and Norm. They had their own subplots really ramping up, too.
Cliff Clavin has a surprisingly emotional arc this season, masked in comedy, of course. The episode The Last Angry Mailman, the Clavin family home, where he still lives with his mother, is sold to a developer to be demolished.
Cliff handcuffing himself to the porch pole is such a defining image for his character. He is the little man fighting the big machine.
I shall not be moved. And how does it end?
Norm showing up with a literal chainsaw.
Norm tries to cut the handcuffs to save Cliff, slips, cuts the support beam instead, and the entire house just collapses.
It is basically a cartoon. It is Looney Tunes logic.
It is. And it shows that the show was willing to go much broader with the physical comedy. Without the heavy grounding reality of the Sam and Diane romance, they could get a little wackier.
Norm also has this great running gag of trying to find work.
Yes, he works as a painter for Rebecca in Paint Your Office. This is actually a really sweet subplot because it is one of the first times Rebecca bonds with one of the regulars. Norm sees her crying, he comforts her. It humanizes her to the gang.
And he also worked as a mall Santa in Christmas Cheers.
Drinking with the other Santas. It is a very cynical, funny look at the holidays that fits Norm perfectly.
I want to make sure we talk about Bar Wars, because this is the season where the rivalry with Gary's Old Town Tavern really goes nuclear.
Yes, it started earlier in the series,
Yeah.
but Season 6 gives us the episode explicitly titled Bar Wars. This formalizes the feud forever.
And the pranks are just constantly escalating.
The bowling trophy is stolen. It comes back broken. They send a spy over. But the absolute pinnacle of this arc maybe the pinnacle of the whole season's absurdity, is the Wade Boggs cameo.
The real Wade Boggs, Hall of Fame baseball player.
He agrees to come to Cheers to sign autographs as a peace offering from Gary. But the Cheers gang is so paranoid, so convinced that Gary is messing with them, that they think he is an imposter.
So they jump him.
They physically tackle a Major League Baseball player, and they steal his pants.
I can't get over the image of Wade Boggs standing in the middle of a bar in his boxers while Norm and Cliff run off with his trousers.
And then they check his wallet and realize, oh no, this is actually Wade Boggs.
Do they apologize? Do they give the pants back?
No. They decide to cut the pants and claim victory anyway. It is this twisted tribal logic that defines the bar. They would rather win the prank war than be decent human beings.
It is brilliant. And speaking of stepping out of the bar, this season really pushed Sam and Woody into new territory, too. Let's talk about Sam in the corporate world.
The episode, The Sam in the Gray Flannel Suit.
Right. Sam actually gets promoted to a sales executive position by the Lillian Corporation.
Which seems completely out of character until you realize the twist. They only hired him as a ringer for the corporate softball team. They didn't care about his business acumen at all.
Which leads to a really great resolution where Sam realizes he would much rather just be a bartender than pretend to be a corporate executive. It reestablishes his love for his actual job.
And Woody had some fantastic development, too. He steps up a lot.
Yeah, in Pudd'nhead Boyd, Woody acts as Mark Twain in a community theater production.
And on sports, he tries to be a sportscaster and just completely fails at it.
But my favorite is, and God created Woodman. He accidentally breaks a super valuable vase at a boss's party, but instead of hiding it, he takes the blame and ends up weirdly impressing the boss with his honesty. It is pure Woody.
He is the innocent heart of the show.
So we have talked about the fun stuff, but we need to address the elephant in the room for season 6, or rather, the elephant that wasn't in the room.
The production drama.
Yeah, season 6 wasn't just smooth sailing. There was the Writers Guild strike of 1988, which we know disrupted everything across television. But there was also a planned season finale that was written, rehearsed, and then just thrown straight in the trash.
The Lost finale. This is a piece of TV history that completely fascinates me.
Walk us through this. What was the original plan?
Okay, so we are in 1988. The AIDS crisis is at its absolute peak. It is terrifying. It is on the news every single night. But it is very rarely discussed in sitcoms, certainly not in a direct personal way.
Right. It was the era of the very special episode, but usually that was reserved for family shows like Growing Pains or Mr. Belvedere, not a workplace comedy like Cheers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the writers decided they wanted to tackle it. The original script for the season 6 finale was going to have Sam Malone find out that an old girlfriend of his, someone from his very promiscuous past, had tested positive for HIV.
Whoa. So the implication is Sam might have it.
Yes. The entire episode was going to be Sam waiting for his test results, dealing with the intense fear that his lifestyle had finally caught up with him.
That is heavy. That is incredibly dark for a show where guys steal Wade Boggs' pants.
It is, and that was exactly the problem. They got into rehearsals, they were reading the lines around the table, and Les Charles said later that the air just went completely out of the room. He said the plot was so serious that it took all the humor out of the episode.
I can imagine. How do you cut from Sam contemplating his own mortality to Cliff Clavin making a dumb mailman joke? You just can't.
It creates a tonal whiplash that the audience probably wouldn't have forgiven. If they had aired that, Cheers effectively becomes a drama for a week. It breaks the unwritten contract with the viewer.
So they pulled the plug on it.
Right in the middle of rehearsals. They scrapped the entire script.
So what did they do? They have a network deadline. They need a finale.
They scrambled hard. They grabbed a script that was supposed to air later, or had been kept in reserve, titled Backseat Becky, Up Front.
This was the one filmed out of sequence.
Yes. And honestly, it was the far better choice for the long-term health of the show. The plot is much more contrite. Cheers. Rebecca has been pining for her corporate boss, Evan Drake, all season long. In this episode, Drake announces he is moving to Japan.
So her dream guy is leaving the continent.
She is completely devastated. She is a wreck. And there's a scene in the car, hence Backseat Becky, where she is crying, she's incredibly vulnerable, and she is alone with Sam.
Now, old Sam season 1 Sam would have seen this as a green light. Vulnerable woman. Check. Emotional. Check. He would have made a move right then and there.
Precisely. The setup is entirely there for him to exploit her vulnerability. But season 6, Sam, he doesn't do it.
He holds back. He comforts her. He acts as a genuine friend. And at the very end of the episode, she looks at him and says, "You're my best friend."
That is the big pivot point for the whole series.
It is. It cemented that their relationship wasn't just going to be a rehash of the sexual tension with Diane. It was built on a real foundation of friendship and mutual support. It told the audience, this is different. This is sustainable.
It effectively saved the dynamic between them. If he had slept with her then, it would have been cheap.
It would have ruined the tension completely. By making them friends first, it gave the writers 5 more years of runway to play with.
So despite the panic, despite the writer's strike, despite the scrapped AIDS episode, how did the season actually land with the public? What were the numbers like?
Stratospheric. The season premiere ranked number 3 overall for the entire week.
And we are talking 1987 broadcast numbers.
21 million households tuned in.
21 million households. That is like Super Bowl numbers today.
It proved definitively that the audience was loyal to the bar itself and the ensemble, not just the central couple. But critics are always cranky. What did they say at the time?
They were mixed initially. Change is hard for critics. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette wrote a review calling the season lacking energy and spark. They specifically hated the Carla wedding episodes, calling them poorly written.
Ouch. History has definitely not agreed with that take.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Retrospective reviews are glowing. DVD Talk gave the season 4 out of 5 stars. DVD Verdict called it laugh out loud funny. When you watch it now, without the immediate cultural baggage of where is Shelley Long, it is just a really, really funny season of television.
And the industry recognized it too, right?
Yes, they did. Andy Ackerman won an Emmy for editing the episode The Big Kiss-Off. The show got nominated for Best Comedy Series, writing for Home as a Sailor, and directing. And almost the entire cast got acting nominations.
Except Baby Newirth.
Surprisingly, yes, she was nominated that year, which feels like a crime given how much she brought to the table as Lilith. But Ted Danson, Kirstie Alley, Rhea Perlman, Woody Harrelson, George Wendt, they were all recognized by the Academy.
So let's zoom out for a second. What is the ultimate legacy of Season 6?
The legacy is that it proved a sitcom could be bigger than its initial premise. It successfully transitioned from a romantic comedy about a bartender and a waitress to a true ensemble workplace comedy.
It really created the template for the second half of the show's life. I mean, the Rebecca years are actually longer than the Diane years.
They are, and many fans argue they are the consistently funnier years.
I want to leave the listeners with a final provocative thought. We talked about that cancel AIDS storyline.
Yes.
I want you to really imagine if they had filmed and aired that episode in September 1988. Sam Malone facing an HIV test.
It is the ultimate television what if.
Would it have been applauded for bravery? Or would it have killed the comedy forever? Would Cheers have been canceled in Season 7 because it just got way too dark?
I think it might have sunk the show. It would have been incredibly brave, yes. But people tuned into Cheers to forget their problems, to go to a place where everybody knows your name. If you bring the grim reality of the AIDS epidemic into that sanctuary, you kind of destroy the sanctuary.
And finally, the debate that never ends. Sam and Rebecca versus Sam and Diane.
The intellectual combat versus the neurotic chase.
Which one actually served the longevity of the show better?
I really think Diane was necessary to build the legend of the show early on, but Rebecca was necessary to sustain the life of it. You just can't do will they won't they for 11 straight years. You just can't.
You would kill each other.
Exactly.
Huh.
Rebecca allowed the show to breathe and evolve.
Well, that is a wrap on our deep dive into Cheers Season 6, a season of panic, complete reinvention, and Wade Boggs' missing pants.
R.I.P. to those pants.
Thanks for listening. We will see you on the next deep dive.